Good evening, everybody. Post-fight podcast. Steve Wellings here alongside Rob Kelly. Matty is with us as well, and Andy Patterson. What we were just saying off air there, Andy, this is going to sort the men from the boys, the staunch. Did you know what happened, Andy? I got carried away. That's what happened, right? We had Dubois against Joyce last week. Heavyweights thought, we'll do a post-fight pod. Why not? AJ coming up next week against Pulev. Thought to myself, got to do a post-fight pod for that. And then I got carried away, didn't I? I went one step. I had one fight too many. I thought to myself, let's do one for Billy Joe Saunders against Martin Murray as well. I feel like I have to apologise for something, Andy. I feel like I should be apologising.
You have got every right to apologise to us, by the way, because this is, as Rob says there, right in the chat, as I says, look, listen, you've really tested the staunchness of your support of this fucking sport. To Rob Pelly says, look, listen, you can't say the word staunch in front of my presence. You know, so I understand that, but really, at the end of the day, is, look, how hardcore are we? That we're doing post-fight podcasts and we're watching Billy Joe Saunders look okay for fucking 4 or 5 rounds. Should have maybe knocked the guy out in 4 rounds. They kind of like gassing to do what Billy Joe does and stuff, and they're talking like, you know, oh, I'm diminished because there's no crowd. I'm not up for it. I need a big fight to get up for it and stuff. Mate, you've really tested us this week, like pushed us to the max, to the point that I have fucked off the whiskey. I've went straight to the cabinet. I've opened it up. I've taken out the crystal decanter, filled with the finest cognac, and I've poured myself a massive fucking, I'll say a quadruple here actually.
Well,
yeah.
let's
pushing to me here, by the way.
Let's just double check here, boys, that we're actually live, because Danny Young says maybe the boys have fucked off this pod like Murray fucked off the boxing tonight. Come on, lads, I want a 4-hour breakdown of this card. We could be talking to the air, to the wind here, Andy.
I preferred Andy's description of his drink to the actual action in the fight, to be honest with you. I'm more interested to see where this is going.
Well, I'll get a 40. Well, I'll get a 40 for the fucking guys. Where's my phone? Here it is.
What would be worse than watching that show? It'd be worse than us doing a 45-minute podcast here and nobody being able to hear us. So let us know in the chat if you can actually hear us, first of all. Oh, we're live. There's Danny. Maybe there's a slight delay. There's a slight delay. There was a bit of action broke out, Andy. A slight delay towards round 10. Go on, give us a breakdown, then round by round.
The Murray throw a punch, eh? They throw it in different than a jab. I mean, what can I say? Listen, at the end of the day, Saunders, even at this point, he was breathing heavily in that corner there, right? But he's just, again, he's a bit fresh in Murray. Murray's washed. He's beaten up. He's took his licks over the years and stuff. You cannot tell me that this is like anything worthy of watching on a Friday night or a Saturday night even. I mean, especially prime time. This is prime time television in the UK, and we're fucking sat here watching for a post-fight podcast that you, Steve Wellings, decided we're going to sit and fucking do. Mm-hmm. You know, sorry I'm getting angry at you, mate, but you know...
I'm like the Pied Piper, Andy. I'm just leading you astray here.
I know. And you make it sound like I'm in charge today.
I thought this is what you would want, Andy. I thought, what would Andy want more than anything else on his Friday evening? Post-fight, Billy Joe Saunders. I'm delivering here.
Deliver me Canelo against the likes of Saunders tonight, or the likes of Saunders against fucking Callum Smith and that. Then we'll see how much a legit super middleweight that he is. He doesn't belong at 168. He's only at 168 because he's too fucking lazy. That. He's too lazy, or at this point in his career or life, he can't make it 160 anymore because he's not disciplined enough. And you got Eddie Hearn telling me the other night, is over Christmas time, you need to be disciplined, you need to be in the gym, because, like Callum, look, we can shit on Callum Smith fighting Canelo all we want, but I know for a fact Callum Smith's been in the gym for fucking weeks on end. And then what happens? The opportunity comes, and he's got the fight on 6-8 weeks' notice, to forget what it is, and he will be ready for it. He will make the weight. Can you tell me if Saunders got a phone call at 8 weeks' notice, I've got you a Canelo fight, you going to be ready for it? No chance. Of course he's not. He needs at least 12 to fucking 16 weeks to make fucking weight, make camp. I mean, he's soft at 168. Canelo can maybe fucking fluctuate and stuff, make it a catch weight if he wants. I'm sorry, man. Saunders is doing what he's always done. He's playing at it. Tonight, he looked okay for 6 rounds. And then again, Murray maybe makes it all man's on, maybe grapples and stuff like that. But Saunders just pulls into that kind of like, that kind of like second half of the fight. He falls into it. He just repeats it. You know, up jab, down to the body, up to the head, maybe throw a hook in there and falls into a fucking clinch. Saunders will get annihilated, even at this point of Golovkin, and Canelo even more so to the fucking body. He doesn't belong at 168, man. 160 is your place. If no, retire, because I am fucking sick and tired of him.
I think Hearn's keeping him at 168 with a purpose, though. I think the simple fact of the matter, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in Billy Joe Saunders' promotional history, maybe other than the Eubank Jr. fight, I mean, has he ever had like an event where his promoters really made good money off of it? Like, I think Hearn is basically setting him up for something good at 168, so he can finally cash in on something out of Billy Joe Saunders.
But hang on, Matty. Sorry to interrupt you. Hearn's coming late to the party here. It was Frank Warren who invested all the time and effort and money for all the years. He's gone over to Hearn for 2-3 fights now towards the end.
Mm-hmm. How much money did Eddie invest into that?
Eddie, probably fuck all, to be honest with you. He's just trying to, get the Canelo fight. Frank probably invested quite a bit.
Frank got him all the title shots and got him known, basically.
Frank has marketed his competition's future talent for many, many decades. He manages to lose fighters around their 25th fight like it's just habit for him.
The thing is, though, as well, with Frank, I think he was probably glad to get rid of Saunders because he was becoming a problem inside the ring in that he was never there, Matty, and he was becoming a problem outside of the ring because he kept on arsing about. I think Frank had said, I've got enough out of him. I'm best shot of him.
He costs too much damn money, and he doesn't produce. Like I said, what was there? I'm trying to even think. He's been so underwhelming. You think about fighters who were more than the sum of their parts. Like Tim Bradley, Andre Ward. They didn't look it, but somehow they were more than it was. Billy Joe Saunders is the opposite. He is less than the sum of his parts. You see everything that he could do in the ring at different times, and you're like, oh man, this guy should be a freaking world beater. And then you find out that the best of his competition is Golovkin's leftovers and the slightly mental sperm of a former legend. It's pretty pathetic.
I think we're pretty sure, Rob, as Andy said, Billy Joe Saunders isn't a super middleweight. I don't care what Bean's going on about. They're both looking in great condition on the scales and all that. Saunders didn't look. You know what it looked like, Rob? It looked like a Legends League sparring session. It was like Tyson Jones. It was like flashes of brilliance, punctuated by soft bellies and receding hairlines.
Well, I was surprised. I was actually surprised. Well, I wasn't surprised because I told you last week exactly how the fight was going to go, but I was surprised that Murray did so little in the fight, or that he attempted to do so little in the fight. I mean, the whole fucking night, Macklin's talking about Matthew Murray being this counterpuncher. Well, while you're waiting for him to counterpunch, he was just getting punched, and there was nothing coming back after he got punched, so he wasn't much of a counterpuncher tonight. Give it that he's 38, he's fucking 6, 7, 8 years past his best, man. And even at his best, he was coming up short, so he was never going to win the fight tonight. Billy Joe Saunders, though, is not fit, man. He's not fit. He should be 160. He's not a 168 fighter. He's not fit. He wasn't fit enough to. You hear him talking about afterwards. I thought after the third round, I said to the guys, this fight's not going 12 rounds, man. Murray's too easy to hit. Surely he'll step on the gas and get him out of here. Fourth round, drops him. Referee doesn't call it as a knockdown. And what happens? Saunders says afterwards in the fight, I couldn't follow up because I was bollocksed. I needed the ref to give him a 10 count so that I could get a breather and come and get at him and possibly stop him. No, that's the fourth round. So what does that fucking tell you? He's not fit. I caned him in the summer because he says he wasn't ready, or he wanted more money, or he wanted the maximum money to fight Canelo. He wasn't ready. He's not fucking fighting. And all year round there's been a pandemic. What else has he had to do apart from train? He's had 3 fights in 3 years. His last good fight was against Lemieux. This fight does absolutely nothing for him. Even when they were making this the fucking first time around, this fight wasn't going to do anything for him. Everyone would have heavily favoured Billy Joe Saunders to beat Martin Murray. So all it is an easy payday for him. He's on TV again. To me, I mean, I think he's a fantastic fighter. I think there's so much difference between the ring IQ of the two of them tonight. The way that Saunders set shots up, Murray didn't seem to have a clue how to do that. Saunders was hitting him with every punch that he wanted to hit him with. The difference in ring IQ was so tangible that you could see it actually unfolding in the ring, that Saunders was thinking his work through. So I'm not going to take anything away from him. I think he's a tremendous fighter. But out of the ring, he's a fucking despicable character. You can't listen to an interview from him without some fucking juvenile 12-year-old remark the minute he gets going. He's, some of the shit that he's done outside the ring, people will never forgive him for. But at the end of the day, I don't care about all that if he's going to fight people. But he's made so much noise about Ginger Bollocks Canelo and turning up at Golovkin press conferences. And who the fuck has he fought? He's had 2 good wins in his career since he's been a world champion. Andy Lee to take the title and David Lemieux. The fights with Ryder, he might have got Ryder and Eubank both when they were both early. But, credit to him, he got those fights and he is undefeated. But he pissed it away for me, man, to be honest with you. I think Saunders should have been pushing on 3 years ago. I think leaving Frank mightn't have been the best move for him. But I don't think he gives a fuck. I think he's happy enough to be an undefeated world champion, and that's enough for him. And he'll only get motivated, as he says, if they have a big fight. But who's going to want to put him in a big fight now? And then you hear Eddie dressed like fucking Dr. Evil tonight. Maybe he'll pay him $1 million for his next fucking fight. What the fuck was he wearing?
He's going to have hair like Dr. Evil soon if he's not careful.
Man, what was he wearing, man? That was fucking shocking.
Pissed himself on it, baby. This
Shagadelic, baby, that one was. But then you hear him talking about, the big fights are next. The Canelos, the Callum Smiths, the Demetrius Andrade. Would you stop trying to... That's not a big fight, right? Stop
not
trying
him
to fucking
again.
push fucking Boo-Boo Andrade on us. That's not going to be a big fight. I don't give a fuck if he fights fucking Thanos out of the fucking Marvel universe. It's not going to be a big fight. Fucking Boo-Boo Andrade. Boo-Boo. Oh.
Here's a fight for you, Rob. What about Demetrius Andrade against Martin Murray next?
The 7-time lucky number 7. That's how they go bill it. Fuck me.
Battle of the
Hypnos. Murray has to hang it up, man. Like, have you guys noticed, like, fighters, like, a lot of them when they lose just seem to get new tattoos. Like, if that guy doesn't retire soon, he's got to go into the Tyson zone, man. You're talking about the tramp stamp on the eye kind of shit.
The Borstal Dots incoming. Let's have a look. Talking to Borstal, let's have a look in the chat room, see who's hanging around there. Danny Young's with us as always. Craig, James Windsor as well, last King of Scotland. Kaiser Koba says, I think Ryder beats Saunders now. Too aggressive on the inside and more hungry. Who else have we got hanging around? James Windsor, yes, mentioned him already. Oh, it's hard pickings here, isn't it? Johnny Horsecock Nelson said he should be able to do 160 if he trained properly. Tosh Bear says, spot on, Rob, again. Yep, 100% agree with that. Joseph Kennedy says, Billy Joe Saunders looks very soft. Bring back the Curtsy Z. We want the fight. Just a couple more before we move on.
See that?
The unsung champ, Curtis.
The unsung hero. I said it. I'm on record of saying it today. See that fight for Billy Joe Saunders? That was the ideal warm-up for him to suggest if he was good enough to beat or fight Golovkin. I kid you not. I believe that. And then that fight was fucking made to be happened. Came where I was. Fucking Legoland. And I got a text, that fight's off, that motherfucker got arrested. I could not believe it. And then I said, someone please send me I think it was a RICO charge he got up on as well. The fucking RICO. Jesus Christ, man. It ended like 75 pages.
He's a legend, man. He's like something like Grand Theft Auto, and he should get him involved in Maurice Hooker, man. Imagine the carnage them two would wreak across the hills of America.
He was cutting 14 pounds of heroin nice and easy.
Good old Tony. Kaiser Koba says, Steve, if Eddie makes Murray versus Andrade, I'm ordering a Sinaloa cartel hitman on you. You know what, Kaiser? I would deserve it as well. Andy, as Matty mentioned there, Martin Murray, he's tough. He's had a good career, but he shouldn't be fighting anymore. He lost to Ndam, at the Warrington Frampton undercard, as Ozzy mentioned on the pod last week. He's been dragged kicking and screaming back into the WBO rankings for one last payday. I don't want to see him in the ring again, man.
He's been a good servant. Look, at the end of the day, he gave his bollocks up against Sturm and Martinez. So, end of the day, the Martinez fight was very, very close, and yeah, he should have shaded it and stuff. After that, it's been, how can we put it? Really, he's been kind of like brought back up, kind of slowly again. I think he signed that contract with the South Africans. I think he ended up getting really good money off it and that. So he was set for life by that point. By the time he fought Golovkin, which I think was one of the South African cards and stuff, he took an absolute beating for 11 rounds. Don't forget it. And then it's another chance against Abraham. Pushed him close. Abraham, he was never a great 168 fighter. Abraham. Groves beats him up over 12 rounds as well. The gatekeeper. This was the one that Eddie was like selling us off and all that sort of stuff on. he's a nearly man. That's all I can put it as. He's a nearly man. He is tough as nails, technically limited, and at this point just washed. And I know Eddie's like Greenpeace at this point. Likes to recycle his fighters. He's got Rosado. He's had fucking. Who's the one that fought? He had Linares over a number of times, and he's got Murray fighting, propping up world title fights and stuff, and topping the bill. What is he now? 38, 39?
Mm-hmm.
He's got to retire at this point. I mean, sorry, he had nothing to offer. Absolute nothing. Apart from clinching and maybe trying to get dirty on the inside of rabbit punches, kidney shots and stuff like that. Maybe just that type of thing. But he had nothing to offer. Absolute nothing. He made Billy Joe Saunders look like he's an elite fighter. And at this point, Billy Joe, what is he now? What was he, 31, 32? He is a pissed away talent. And I don't give a fuck if he's got a 30-0 record or no. He is a good fighter, very good fighter. But he should be far, far ahead of what he is at this minute. I know he had problems with the hands early in his career and stuff, maybe some problems with cuts and stuff like that. But, fucking Lemieux is like 3-4 years ago. And that was a fantastic performance, a world-class performance. And at this point, he's done nothing ever since. Nothing. And this tonight just kind of like proved it. And as Rob says, look, he's bollocksed. He should have taken Murray out there within 4 rounds. He had Murray really ruling to go, and he had nothing left. 5, 6 became 12 rounds. You're like, fucking, just pish. And
It was ridiculous.
At this point, Eubank Jr. would beat Saunders, I would think. And I don't rate Eubank whatsoever. Just technically, he's woeful, Eubank, but output, he could maybe just fucking put it on Saunders.
You give him a chance after about the 7th or 8th on that display.
Doubt. If Eubank could just maybe work early, back a few early rounds, I would back him to fucking win that fight on points.
No, I think the brandy's kicking in there, dude. I couldn't see
so?
that. Yeah, no, I couldn't see. I think against you. I don't think that fight will ever happen again, the second fight, but I would favour Saunders against Eubank every time.
I'm not so sure, man. I think his conditioning is woeful, Rob.
Well, maybe
you hear him in the corner, he was breathing like heavy, mate, in that corner, and that was at the 10th round.
Like I said, I can't see it being made anyway. I don't think it'll be made, but I would favour him against Eubank anytime. But maybe Steve was alluding to that Eubank should use the Matt Murray blueprint. And Jamie Moore said to him after 6 rounds, right, you're still in this fight. You can get back into it in the second. He doesn't want to fuck around. Macklin, I don't think he won a round for the fight. I didn't give him a round. And Macklin gave him 2 sympathy rounds, I think. Fucking pathetic, man. Absolutely pathetic. Not taking away nothing from Jamie Moore or Murray, by the way. Both fucking, good lads and good boxing guys and that. But that was... And it's not his fault he's in the fight. He couldn't do nothing. It's not his fault. Like, he's 38 years of age. What was anyone expecting? And then it keeps for Saunders to keep rerunning with the narrative throughout the whole build-up. And then after the fight that Matt Murray is a cunning old fox. What? Yeah, he was very clever there tonight. He did a lot of fucking disguise on his game plan. Fuck me.
It's funny. Like, Murray is kind of like, Golovkin aside to an extent, but Murray's kind of like the end of an era, because I was just kind of thinking back to that time, it was like the victims of Sergio Martinez to an extent and such, but you had some good fights with them and them fighting other folks for a few years there with Barker, Murray, Macklin, Daniel Gill. Barker versus Gill was a fantastic fight.
Yeah.
And it really is just kind of like, a generation closing out, and this is kind of the last gasps of it as, we move on. And unfortunately, the guys like Saunders, who should have been there to really inherit it, especially, speaking on a purely domestic level for you guys there, because it was hot for that 5-year period. And he was unable to do it. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how everything goes moving forward. But it was, you're not talking like, 1980s middleweights or anything like that. But it really was for that period of time when Martinez was the man. The fights around middleweight at that time were really good. It was a fun time to be a boxing fan.
The thing is, Matty, regarding Saunders, I always think back to the fight that everybody mentions. That's the David Lemieux fight. Such an impressive performance. And I thought, well, this should have really been the start of a glorious career path for Saunders. It seemed like he was about to go places, but instead it seems to have been the peak at the moment.
That's about it. And one, I mean, you also have to kind of rate Lemieux, with correctly. I mean, Lemieux's a decent fighter if he can, has a chance to land on you clean, but he's not the toughest guy to make look stupid. He was kind of tailor made for Saunders, right? Lemieux's always going to be, you talk about a guy, he had a title somehow or whatever, it's just ridiculous. But he's kind of one of those almost guys as well, where it just, he had one thing, but it wasn't enough. And Saunders was there to exploit it. But, what is David Lemieux? What's David Lemieux's best win? Is knockout over Curtis Stevens?
Yeah, beaten down. He was that gateway to the next level for me. He was the ultimate world-class gatekeeper for Saunders to move past and go on to that next level, but he never did.
Yeah, it's like I said, Billy Joe is less than the sum of his parts. And, didn't that dude have a problem with blow for a while too? I thought, Tyson had his experiences. And here's another question.
We've all got that problem, haven't we?
Yeah, here's another question for you, though. How in God's fucking name do you end up with a problem being too heavy going into camp if you're also snorting frickin' marching powder? None of that makes sense.
I don't remember any of them stories, dude. I can't remember any of those stories coming to the forefront. Maybe I'm wrong, but...
What I will say about his conditioning, though, Rob, seriously, I mean, this ring rust they're talking about, it'd be okay if he fights again in another few months, then I'll sort of pass this Murray fight. But the chances are, I bet you any money, we don't see Saunders for another year now. I mean, if everybody's locked up, they've got a gym at home, can they not at least be getting in shape? That's the minimum you could be doing.
Well, I thought one of the most telling things about the shape and the condition that Saunders was in was the way he chose to start the fight. He starts on the front foot. He's leading. He's standing right in front of Murray. Murray's circling around on the outside. So Saunders, we used to seeing up on his toes, popping the jab, bringing in the uppercut. But he was able to stand right in front of Murray tonight. And every time he got tired, I thought he was the one initiating the clinch, actually, and pushing his head into Murray. So I thought he was more tired than Murray was, even though Murray just looked so shot, like completely past what he was. And at the height of it, I don't think he was good enough to beat Saunders, like I said. So I think it gave a massive insight into the condition that Billy Joe Saunders is in, and as well as that, backs up kind of what we said about him not taking the Canelo fight in the summertime. Like when he goes on about Canelo, he wants to be great, he only wants the big fights, he wants to be motivated. We have Canelo there in 8 weeks. No, not interested. I need more time and I need more money. You know what I mean? It's just kind of, it sums up, I think, Billy Joe Saunders completely this fight tonight, like where he's at and what he's done with his career. And like, we're the ones that suffer because Billy Joe Saunders is a very good fighter, man. I think he's an excellent fighter and he could have been way better. But I said about 3 years ago on the pod, he's about his career is more interesting for the sound bites and the stupid shit he's doing outside the ring than the stuff that he's doing in the ring at the moment. Like, it's been a fucking one after the other train wrecks, PR train wrecks outside of the ring, and in the ring he's done fuck all. He's been doing his own PR train wrecks with that fight on the fucking YouTubers undercard and this tonight. Like, it's doing nothing for him. So if I was Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade, I wouldn't be quaking in my boots anyway. Put it that way. At least Andrade is in shape at the very least.
Well, that's a good point. This is so shit that even Chukwu hasn't turned up yet. I've put the StreamYard link in the chat. I'll tell you what, we might be going for another 10 or 15 minutes at this rate, I think. We'll go on to the undercard shortly. Just before we do so, a couple of interesting comments. Exactly, Johnny Nelson in the chat, mate, it sums it up perfectly for me. Like I said, if Saunders fights again soon, then I'll sort of let this fight pass. But you just know, don't you? You just know it's going to be Billy Joe Saunders against Gabe, the gatekeeper of Rosado, up next, December 2021. Exactly what Johnny Nelson says. And Danny Young says, would everyone give Saunders a bit of slack if he fights someone in the top 5 next? Well, I would, yeah, but I'm not going to hold my breath, to be honest with you. I was going to say to you, Andy.
Who's the top 5?
Well, I don't know. If he fought Andrade next, would you be happy enough for that, Andy?
No, what the fuck? I mean, what the fuck? But Andrade...
I would, you know, because it could be so much worse, man.
So much worse than two guys, one who gasses after 6 rounds and one who bores you to fucking death, who can't finish the opponent in 12 rounds.
But would you take a guaranteed a guaranteed Billy Joe Saunders Andrade fight, or would you say we'll leave it up to them to see what they come up with? Or I would take the Saunders Andrade guaranteed.
I would take the latter, mate. I don't give a
Would
fuck.
you?
I don't want to see. I don't want to see Saunders Andrade.
Neither do I.
That
But I
fight
mean,
would suck. That fight would suck so freaking bad. I can't even put it into words. I'm playing it out in my head, and it is so awful, like 10-2 for Andrade.
I
So
want to see
awful.
Saunders. I want to see Saunders Benavidez, or I don't know, Zach Parker,
Yeah.
for example, or Berlinga. I know me and you are kind of high on Eder Berlinga. That guy, he's kind of pudgy for 168 and stuff. I don't think he belongs at 168 or 175, for example.
hang on, is Belanga that guy who's knocking out everybody in the
Aye.
first round?
Aye.
They won't, mate. They won't, mate.
For him and Saunders, see how he wants it. See how
What
hungry he is.
What about Sweet Hands Plant? That's a fight I'd watch.
Yeah.
That's a great fight, I think.
It might be a bit negative, but yeah.
Again, yeah.
It can't be negative than Saunders and that shite that you're
Well, that's true.
Andrade.
That's true.
Come on, Andrade. Wait, 160?
Yeah. As people are mentioning Danny Jacobs, you see, you know what? I'm sorry. He's had his time and he's been a good fighter, but he's another fighter who's gonna have to fuck off as well. Danny Jacobs. I've had enough of him. People are talking about the Danny Jacobs Canelo rematch, Andy. I mean, he got paid $12 million for that first fight. He's another one whose heart's not in it, man. I don't want to see Jacobs fighting anybody.
I don't want to raise suspicion about a guy who recovered from cancer and had a miraculous recovery, but you'd have to think that there might be a link to the diminished performances of Danny Jacobs and the mandatory testing that he's had to undergo for the last couple of fights, because we'll all remember him rocked by Sergio the Snake Mora. I think Pirog knocked him out. Then he went on this run post beating cancer where he just was kind of ragdoll on Golovkin and that, and then he's had a little dip there lately again. So I'm not saying
hardly anyone thought he'd beat Quillen. That was the funny one.
Yeah, that was the fun. Yeah. But Quillen, I don't know. Quillen is a bit of an enigma as well, wasn't he? Like, there was the throwing the belt in the bin rather than face Korobov, and he had Andy Lee down twice in the early stages, and then when Andy dropped him, he kind of went into a shell. I think he was waiting to get knocked out Quillen. In retrospect, that is, by the way, I didn't favor Jacobs to beat Peter Quillen at the time.
Yeah, Danny, you got to give him credit for what he did coming back after cancer. Like it wasn't a better than 50% prognosis either. But all good things come to an end, and he made an incredible career off of a point in his life where he didn't know if he'd be around for another year. So sometimes it's just best to call it a day and say you made a hell of a go at it, because a bunch of people wrote him off, and he really showed heart in the way he came back. He gave a great account against Golovkin and Canelo.
I don't think he gave a great account against Canelo, to be honest with you. But I do agree with your point about, in the aftermath of obviously coming back, it goes without saying, coming back from cancer and all that was an amazing achievement. But I think he's been phoning it in these last few fights. And the Canelo one, I don't think he give his all in that. And if you're getting paid $12 million for one fight or whatever it was he got paid, you're not going to want to get punched in the head, are you? It stands to reason. So I think he's phoning it in, Jacobs now, seeing how many more paydays he can get through Uncle Al, and I think he's split from Ed, because the contract's up. Anyway, final point before we go on to the undercard, Andy. My overriding thoughts, even when the Diamante was announcing them in the ring, man, the whole thing was just a bit shit, wasn't it? Like, I mean, Diamante was there bellowing out his excitement from the four corners of the world, and the world title. The three British judges just didn't feel like world title fair to me, man. That's not world title action.
Nah, mate. That's like 1989, 1990, early 1990s WBO title level fights we were getting the other night. That's what we got the other night. That was shit. That wasn't even worthy of a Sky, prime time slot. Friday night, Saturday night, you could have fucking put that Wednesday night. Didn't even belong on TV. Absolute trash. And you can have Adam Smith saying, "Oh, Billy Joe's looking sharp. He's looking on the ball and that." You can sell us a turd, mate. Martin Murray. Matthew Macklin saying Martin Murray's world class. He's teak tough. Maybe he fucking disputes he's teak tough. I mean, fuck's sake, man. Golovkin hit him with bombs for 11 rounds before he folded. Nobody disputes that, but just call it that he's a washed fighter who had his hands up for the whole fucking fight. He could barely land a jab and just basically grappled. Just grappled and let's try to kind of like land shots on the inside when he was grappling. That was it. That was it. So he needs to retire. Saunders, at the end of the day, everybody knows what we're watching here and stuff like that. And, I wouldn't have watched this shit if it wasn't for this fucking post-fight podcast. And I'm blaming you, Steve.
I'm blaming myself.
It was a bit weird, though, Steve. I agree with you. Like, the whole production was a bit weird. I thought, like, when I saw James Tennyson coming out and his ring entrance music was Destiny's Child, Say My Name, I thought Matt Murray was going to come out to Young at Heart. You have Adam Smith saying, well, Matthew, he is so young at heart, Matthew. And he has got a lot of heart at him.
And he's worked so very, very hard at them.
Oh, fuck's sake, man.
What the hell was that with freaking Destiny's Child being intro music too?
I don't know. Maybe it's something to do with
never...
this. That song is about like a suspicious female asking her fella on the phone to say her name in case he's with his side chick. I don't know how that gets you pumped up to fucking be the lightweight champion of the world, but fair play to Tennyson anyway. Worked for him tonight, didn't it?
I have never wanted somebody to lose more just because of their intro music than tonight. I was so bothered. I can't even put it into words. Like I expect something, at least intense, get you going or something like that, like
ECDC.
Yeah, I mean, like, Jesus Christ, even Wonderwall's more hard ass than that shit. What the fuck?
Was it Tennyson came out to that?
Tennyson
yes.
came out to Destiny's Child.
Well, look at the job he done on your man. Friggin' hell, if he'd have come out to anything harder, then
I think he lulled him to sleep. Dude's thinking, motherfucker's coming out to Destiny's Child. He's some fucking poof. He's like, I'll knock him out. And then he comes out throwing these 3-4 punch combos. You're like, oh, shit. What did I get myself into? It's kind of like that scene in Play It to the Bone where he decided, if I got knocked out by a gay dude, maybe I'll go gay. So his next fight, he'll probably be coming out to En Vogue or
yes,
I don't know.
Quick disclaimer.
Out there for me.
Quick disclaimer. These are the thoughts of Matthew D. of General.
It's a good job for O'Reilly that he didn't come out to Never Gonna Get It by En Vogue. It might have really turned out badly. Fuck me.
Oh, God. I was not expecting it to take this type of a turn. Aren't you glad we come on now, boys? I don't even know where to go from that. Oh, Matty, you were watching the DAZN version. What was that like?
Oh, was Mannix on it? Tell me he mentioned Andrade at least 10 times.
No, they actually had the UK call on that. They had Sergio Mora.
And
Sergio Mora was in.
Some scouser was on the call. It sounded a bit like
Paul Smith, somebody said. I think it was
Paul Smith, and Sergio Mora. But then I flicked over. Someone gave me a link to the Sky one, so I went over to the Sky one to hear what they were saying instead. Was I glad I did that?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was okay. The weirdest thing with the Zone broadcast, though, like sometimes the cameras are excellent, and then all of a sudden it looks like you're trying to stream something in like 2007.
Oh, a bit of bean. Get a bit of bean on. So I keep threatening to go onto the undercard, but I'm not quite there yet, Rob. One thing I'm gonna shit on Eddie. I know it's not popular and everything, and he has a rough time from us. But one thing Eddie's got to start doing, Rob, is putting his fighters against each other. How many times do we keep hearing him coming out and going, "Everyone's got to start fighting each other. It's got to be big fights from now on." Well, he's got all these fighters. Why doesn't he start putting them against each other?
Oh man, he's like a fucking televangelist or something. You hear him tonight? What camera are we on? Sorry, this camera number 1. This guy. This is a guy who does this and that. Fuck off, man, will you? Put your little fucking Dr. Evil outfit on you. Fuck me. All he needed was a fucking black patch over his eye and his little fucking pinky up to his mouth when he was talking. Like, absolutely fucking shocking. Eddie'd say anything, dude. Eddie fucking say. We know this at this stage. We're not even surprised. I feel weird even commenting on the stuff that he says these days because it's all just fucking total nonsense. Like, and he was on one tonight, full salesman mode, microphone placed there, ready for him, socially distanced from the fighters so he could do his little spiel after each fight on the undercard, man. Absolutely shocking. 1 for Shannon Courtney, 2 for James Tennyson, 3 for Billy Joe Saunders. Give me a fucking break, man. Say anything, even
Edward, yeah, wanker.
On the undercard then, so I didn't see a lot of it. I didn't see Lerone. I'm a fan of Lerone Richards. I think that he's got a lot of talent, but I would have preferred him sticking with Frank, going the British title route. Just as I predicted, he comes over to Eddie and he's fighting against some flipping dustbin collector. Matty, you were impressed with Shannon Courtney's knockout of Dorota Norek?
Oh yeah, man, that was a
man.
hell of a good shot. That I think I turned on the broadcast around the fourth round, and I mean there was clearly a gulf in class. The Polish chick, she mostly negative, and whenever she'd come forward, she'd like slap, real wide shots, and they're just really goofy. And so Courtney got her up against the ropes and just threw this wicked overhand right across the face and dropped her. The gal got up at like 7 or 8, but it was clear that she didn't want to continue, and she kind of like felt like putting her knees in her corner. And I'm like, almost think that she got hit so hard that she cried.
Plenty of tears there. Plenty of tears from you, Andy, maybe, when Johnny Nelson said in the aftermath of James Tennyson's knockout win over Josh O'Reilly that Tennyson beats Gervonta Davis right now.
Yeah, and then who's it? Actually, Sharp actually got involved and says that, would certainly be a close fight. Look, I didn't even know Tennyson was in the top 10 at WBA until I actually went and checked it out, right? If he was to be mandated to fight Lopez tomorrow, Lopez, we all know, would absolutely eviscerate him, would absolutely destroy him. Anytime he stepped up in class, for me at least, he gets iced, he gets knocked out. I remember it was not a Latvian kid or something like that, or Lithuanian, absolutely sparked him out.
Oh, Senkov's, yeah.
Lithuanian guy, yeah.
So I went through WBA rankings, right? I picked out a few names here. Can you imagine any of these fights? Obviously, that wasn't a final eliminator. That was just class as an eliminator for WBA title between the number 8, number 9 and number 7, right? Joshua O'Reilly, who I have never seen.
He was
before.
number 7, was he?
He was number 7. He was fucking gash.
His last opponent had how many losses, would you think? I'll tell you.
12.
34. His last opponent had 34 losses, and he was ranked number 7. So there you go.
But were they competitive losses?
Yeah, they were all Gabe Rosado jobs.
Here's what I'm here
thought
to
he
tell
won
you.
him, but he lost him.
Here's what I'm here to tell you. So, right, okay, this is an eliminator. So that means Tennyson can get called to fight anybody shortly, right? So take Robert Easter Jr., who's not fought now since 2019. He has won 1-1 in his last 3 fights. Mikey Garcia, he got beaten 12 rounds. Francis Bartholomew, he drew away in 12 rounds, and Adrian Granados had beaten 10 rounds, right? Next person up would probably be Jackson Marinez, who got fucking robbed against Rolando Romero, right? So he deserves his shot before, like say, Tennyson, for example, right? Take Isaac Gonzalez, the guy who absolutely fucking iced the career of Diego Magdaleno. It was about 2 months ago, I think it was. Right, so he would be next up. Tennyson, would he take a shot off him? We don't know, right? Next up, Oliver Flores. Oliver Flores is ranked something like, I think he's ranked number 8 WBA rankings. That motherfucker retired in 2015, I think, and iced off Uchiyama in 3 rounds. He come back and get beat off Verdejo in 2017, and he's fought 3 times since then, right? He is ranked number 8 in WBA rankings. Next up, after that, is Yoshino for Japan, who's basically a regional champion. He's picked up, the vacant OBF Japanese lightweight titles and all that sort of shit. And that. Here's what you're mixing with. That is what you're fucking mixing with just now with that guy, right? So to call him this like world class puncher that fucking Macklin was mentioning him and stuff like that. If you're so sure that guy is so fucking good, put him in with like Linares, who Eddie likes to recycle, or put him in with Marinez, right? You see how good Tennyson is at world level and how good his power is. I guarantee you, I think any of they two would fucking beat him. Gonzalez, just based him off Magdaleno fight, which wasn't long. The kid's got power. And Tennyson, if his power's real, then that might be a good fight to make. Number 6 against number 9. Gonzalez against Tennyson. But to be honest, title fights, I mean, Lopez is a man. We're all expecting he's going to vacate. One name I don't expect to get mentioned that Eddie's used before was Evan Mendy. I wonder if he'll maybe use that name again. Remember Mendy lost, beat Luke Campbell.
Barry Jones mentioned a good fight on Twitter, possibly Tennyson against Richard Comey, Andy.
Maybe.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
That'd be good, that.
But I think it's all going to come down to, like, who was it mentioned? Gervonta Davis? Was it Joey Nelson that mentioned it?
Johnny Nelson.
Yeah.
He beats him right now, he said.
Oh, my God.
Maybe he's figuring that there's a time difference and Davis is asleep right now, so if he was to catch him right now, he probably would beat him. But
hope Floyd was actually on one of his mid-morning runs and actually heard that and says, "We're making that motherfucking fight right now."
I feel the same.
To build his star up, with just a good victory. The guy that's bouncing around 135 and 140, who honestly I think Tennyson would have his number, is Jorge Linares. That's a great name for your resume. I don't think Eddie would have a problem getting that fight done. And I really think the way that Tennyson puts his punches together would just be disastrous for Linares. Absolutely disastrous.
I agree with that. I'm a massive Linares fan, but he's done. As soon as Tennyson starts banging him, he might start banging him. You never know. But as soon as he starts hitting him with heavy shots, I think he'll cut up. I think Linares is near done, Rob.
I think he is near done, but I think he's a level above. I think he's a level above James Tennyson. If he's got, especially if he lost to Kano at 140, I think if he's fighting James Tennyson at 135.
There's a bit of golf and class here, I think. I mean, okay, listen.
There's a golf and class between Kano and Linares too, but Linares is getting old.
Yeah, but he is, but I still think he
ain't
hasn't
knocking out Linares, man. Fuck's sake,
dude,
come on,
who didn't knock out Linares for that period?
I'm betting you cash. If Eddie makes that fight, I'm betting you cash, right? That Linares.
You'll have to be able to give me better odds than the bookies.
Oh, give a straight up bet me. What you want? 2 grams of weed?
Shit. I bet you'll be able to get probably 6 or 7 to 1 at least on Tennyson by knockout in that fight.
I thought you were going to say 6 to 7 grams.
I don't know, man. I as much as highly as I rate Linares, I think he has a bit of a drop in him. And Tennyson, if he can stay away and not get hurt to the body's the kryptonite for Tennyson.
I think it would be quick. I think 1, 2, 3 rounds. Most of Linares' losses are of the quick knockout variety.
Wait a fucking second here, man. Look, I'm sorry.
Sergio Thompson. He got knocked out by fucking Sergio Thompson.
Yeah, but I'm back to Tennyson.
No, that's 7-8 years ago. Like, I know he's on the slide, right?
Yes, he's so much older now.
Tennyson would have to get him early, but I just think Linares would have too much movement to even get troubled by Tennyson early rounds, and then end up seeing it out. Like, couldn't see.
Just who the fuck is Tennyson absolutely troubled in any sort of fashion at world title level, elite level, to suggest that he's got this fucking all of a sudden puncher's chance to fucking do damage? Nobody
is there as a resume builder. He is absolutely there as a resume builder. I don't think that Linares has another good win in his career ahead of him. I don't see it. They would have to match him so carefully.
Yeah. Maybe I'm overestimating Linares' decline. You don't know how much of a fan I am of Linares, man, but his skin's made of paper.
Yeah, but Tevin Farmer knocked Tennyson out. Like, I know he's had 6 wins on the bounce, but he's fought fucking 6. Like I said, that fella tonight his last fight was against a fella with 34 losses. Like,
yeah, but
he looked like he'd never been hit before.
See what I'm saying, though, Rob? Tevin Farmer brutalised him. A guy who's got something like fucking 2 knockouts in his career, right?
Exactly.
Ever since then, Tennyson's come back against absolute trash. Well, not so much trash, right? But come on, Atif Shafiq and Craig Evans, right? That's the 2 names I can think off the top of my head at the minute that he's fought. But they were all knockouts. They were all stoppages against whom exactly? Guys, I don't know any other names that he's fucking fought and stuff like that. But
Ryan Doyle stopped him as well, did he not?
Ryan Walsh fucking stopped him.
Ryan Walsh stopped him. Tennyson stopped Ryan Doyle.
And he got stopped like way early in his career off a lot of men.
Yeah.
Sinkoffs was.
I've been at all 3 of his losses. I might be a bad omen. If I stay away, he might beat Linares.
You should have went tonight then. You should have went tonight. You should have said who you were and did a fucking Eli setback and say you're Jewish and got in the fucking crowd. Come on. I've got to think everything about here nowadays.
Oh dear. Yeah, this Josh O'Reilly's quite the character. I'm looking up and down his record here now. As Rob says, he 36, 34 and 6 Cecilio Santos. He's also fought in the Paramount Fine Food Centre in Mississippi. What's that one, Andy? Have you got his record up there? Mississauga. Is that even a real place? Yeah, Josh O'Reilly's not the greatest. Right, anything else, boys? I'm losing the will to live here. Anything you want to close off with, Andy?
Well, yeah. I mean, anything positive I can give you. The brandy taste is good. The boxing wasn't all that great. Matheus Masternak might get a world title fight next week. So yeah, it's all looking good. Fan Davidosi, as they say.
Absolutely. We're going live, Rob, next week after the AJ Pulev fight. Do you think it'll be better or worse than this? What's the odds, Rob?
It's not going to be worse, man. If it's worse than this, if fucking AJ or Pulev is worse than this, the fucking Fury fight's
Can
never
you
getting
imagine
made.
if that goes 12 rounds and Joshua just dances around the ring for 12 rounds and wins it like Brady?
We'd be raging. And you fucking have two bottles of brandy in by the time we fucking come on here, man.
Oh man, like, can you imagine this a repeat performance of that Ruiz fight, that Ruiz rematch?
Shocking that was. I don't know. I saw Chuck Wu put in the channel about the undercard. He said Shannon Courtney should not be on any other channel, only the adult channel. And I thought, surely not. Surely not. Like
he's off Judge Judy now, Chuck Wu, isn't he?
But then I thought maybe she'd be better on Babe Station talking to that fella from the fella that rings in pretending to be the granddad, pranking him all. Are you on set tea, love? You're making some cup of tea. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
I don't know.
You actually watched that preview, Rob, eh?
I've never seen it.
I've never seen it. I've got to send you the link.
I've got a 13-year-old son, so I'll probably catch him watching it soon, and I'll go and have a look, see what's going on there. Anyway, Matty, any final thoughts from you?
Yeah, I think if anybody's looking for decent value tomorrow, you can grab Spence by decision and parlay it with Josecito Lopez to win and pull yourself to better than even money.
There you go. Good tip for Matty there to end this podcast. We managed to drag nearly 46 minutes out of it. We will be back on, when we'll be back? Yeah, Sunday evening for episode 402, 403, something like that. It's in the early 400s anyway. Thanks to everybody who's jumped on tonight. Troopers that you are. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button or the thumbs down. We deserve it. Well, I do anyway. Rapping Rob Kelly's been with us. Thanks to him. Matty DiGialinardo as well. Andy Patterson. I've been Steve Wellings. We'll catch you all again on Sunday evening. Bye.